Hey everybody, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeFries, and this is The Daily Show, where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us, as always, is AMC Editor-in-Chief, John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you live from right here at the Stream.TV studios here in Hollywood, California, and we are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
Also, here's AMC correspondent, Alicia Malone.
Hello, good morning. Excited to be here.
Woohoo!
And from I Am Rogue, Jamie Philbrick.
Jamie, welcome
All right,
back.
rock and roll. Back again.
After years of speculation and failed attempts, it looks like a new Ghostbusters film is finally underway and in development. It has been announced that Bridesmaids and The Heat director Paul Feig will direct a complete reboot of the Ghostbusters franchise. In an interview, Feig confirmed that the new film will be both a total reboot and completely female-driven. He said the following: "My favorite thing to do is work with funny women. I was like, what if it was an all-female cast? If they were all women?" Suddenly, my mind kind of exploded. That would be really fun. And then I thought, well, what if we just make it new? It's not coming into a world that existed before. That's always hard if the world has gone through this big ghost attack. How do you do it again? I wanted to come into our world where there's talk of ghosts, but they're not really credible. And so what would happen in our world if this happened today? John, what do you think of this newest Ghostbusters development?
I have not been interested in a new Ghostbusters movie in any form or incarnation whatsoever till today. I got to admit, Paul Feig's name hits me right out of left field. Did not see that coming, really. I always kind of thought somehow, some way, they would get a big enough dump truck full of money to dump on Lord and Miller's lawn and actually coax them to come and do it. And then I'd be interested. This is a really fascinating take on this. Number one, I do like that it is a total, complete reboot. It is time to do that. This whole thing that Dan Aykroyd's been trying to pull about, no, it's going to be, we're going to mentor them. And
it's sad.
It has gotten sad.
Yeah.
10 years ago when we first talked about it, interesting.
Yeah.
But you're right, sad now.
Yeah.
So going complete reboot, going in a different direction, yet still paying homage to the original, making an all-female cast, and then bringing the director of Bridesmaids and The Heat. You know what? I may not be jumping up and down in my chair about this, but now I'm interested. To quote Leonardo DiCaprio, "You have my attention." So, like, I'm listening now. Anyway, Alicia, what did you think about this?
And unlike Jesse Eisenberg in Social Network, you have my full attention. I think this is a really cool idea. You know, I don't like remakes or reboots so much, but I accept this is Hollywood and this is what's going to happen. So I think it's smart to take it in a completely different direction and start fresh. Otherwise, you risk a lot of comparisons with the original. And Paul said he loves origin stories, but he doesn't want to diminish anything from the original origin story. So that is a good way to do it. I think Paul Feig is fantastic with his funny women. I love The Heat. I love Bridesmaids. So I'm really looking forward to this. And I like that he said it's going to be scarier and have new cool technology.
I'm glad you brought that up, because he seems, from the comments I'm reading, it seems like he's going to try to walk that very difficult balance to get. Legitimately scary kind of horror film with legitimately side-slapping funny. So that's going to be tough. Anyway, Jamie, what did you make of all this?
I'm going to actually go the other way on this. I was like you, had no interest in another Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters 3 with the actual cast, that did interest me 15 years ago. And so
with Bill Murray.
With Bill Murray, and obviously you can't do it. You can't do that now that we've lost Harold Ramis. So the idea of rebooting it altogether, like in Ghostbusters 2 wasn't even that great. Ghostbusters is obviously a classic and that I love. And so I was I don't really care for a remake or reboot or anything else. And having Paul Feig involved doesn't really change that opinion for me. I have to actually say The Heat is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
I liked it.
I hated that movie.
I thought Bridesmaids was a good film. Not a great film, but a good film. And so we know what the cast is going to be. It's going to be Melissa McCarthy playing the Bill Murray part. It's going to be Kristen Wiig playing the Dan Aykroyd part. Maya Rudolph playing the Igor Spigman part, so Igor Spigman. So I'm just not interested, and I have to actually say, an all-female cast doesn't really excite me either. I'm kind of like, I mean, it's something. It's very gimmicky. It seems very gimmicky to me,
and
a little bit
So does
desperate.
Ghostbusters as a whole.
No, as a whole,
the
true.
notion of Ghostbusters is very gimmicky.
I mean, I
get
guess maybe
why
because we grew up with it, it's not so gimmicky, the idea of Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
But
if it's an all-male cast, it's not gimmicky, so I don't know why it's gimmicky if it's like a female cast.
well, I mean, it would be gimmicky if it was an all African American cast, or if it was all Asian cast.
If
or
they
it was all
went with
just-
any kind of trend.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
the
It seems
reason
like
this
a gimmick
interests
to be
me-
doing it, and it seems a little desperate. And we know Sony is desperate for a franchise, and I just think leave Ghostbusters alone. Like the first Ghostbusters classic, the guys decided to do a second one. It wasn't as good. Great. Leave it alone.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
I wish they
I don't
would,
think this
but
is
they
going to
won't.
fix it.
Leave it alone.
Yeah, see, and look, here's the
This
thing
doesn't
with
make
me.
it any better. Paul Feig in an all-female cast does not make it any better.
To me, being added as the director wouldn't get my attention. An all-female cast wouldn't get my attention. But because I think it's important to point out too, they did say that we're not just replacing the roles. There's not going to be somebody playing the Bill Murray role.
But they are, and you know they are.
I don't think they will. I really don't think they
Yeah.
are. But you take Paul Feig as the director and an all-female cast with the fact that I did like The Heat and I very much like Bridesmaids.
Yeah.
And it's a total reboot and a re-envisioning of the whole thing. It's not a remake, it's a reboot. You put all those things together and there's enough there for me to go, okay, you've taken me from complete disinterest to interest, and let's see how it
I mean,
goes.
look, I'll
showing
see
something
it because I
different.
love Ghostbusters. Like, I'll see it, and maybe it'll be great. And
I'm going to
I hope it
who's in
is.
it. It's going to be Melissa McCarthy. That's
a done deal.
She might just have a
Kristen
small
Wiig.
role.
I'm not even so sure it's going to be Kristen Wiig, but I think it'll probably end up being
Maya Rudolph.
Fingers crossed. I don't even think Maya Rudolph. I want to see Tina Fey and Amy Poehler together again.
Yeah,
on screen.
well, and
that'd
those
be
are the other
cool.
two that I think. I mean, listen, there's a very
That'd be
short
cool.
list of who's going to be in this movie, and we just named all of them.
Right.
I'd
There's
love
a
to
bunch
see a
of-
Lake Bell or Judy
Oh, I would
Greer or
love
something
that.
Lake
like
Bell
that.
would be
Yeah.
great.
Lake Bell would be really cool.
And Rose
Lisa
McGowan?
Kaplan?
No,
I love
the
Lisa
girl
Kaplan.
from, she was in Bridesmaids. Rose
Rose Byrne.
Rose Byrne. Yeah.
She's another option?
She's very funny. She's
Yeah.
good.
All right, what's next?
The latest Terminator movie, Terminator Genisys, opens in AMC theaters on July 1st, 2015, but relatively little is still known about the project. In a recent interview, star of the film, Courtney, talked about the film and its potential rating. He said the following: "What I can say is that we start in a place we're familiar with from the early films, and then, circumstances change. It somewhat shifts the course of events from that point. It's not necessarily a sequel or a reboot. I don't even know how you brand it correctly. We're not remaking one of the earlier Terminator movies, and it doesn't necessarily carry on from the point where we left off. I would love to see it be rated R, but I don't think it will. I think in this day and age, it's much more likely to be PG-13. There were no F-bombs, but there'll be a healthy amount of movie violence." Alicia, does Courtney's comments clear things up for you at all?
No, not at all. I don't even know what that
clear
means.
about this.
I mean, obviously, Jai's being very careful. He knows he's not allowed to say a lot, so he's choosing his words carefully. It just makes it more confusing. J.K. Simmons, who's also in the movie, said it's a reimagining, so it sounds like it'll be a spin-off trilogy from the original and some connection to it. I'm disappointed about the PG-13 rating, although it doesn't surprise me. I mean, these days you block out such a huge market of the movie-going audience if you go for R, but I miss those like gory, swear-filled action films of the 80s. I want that.
See, what Courtney was talking about, I have no idea. I'm actually a fan of Jai Courtney's, though
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah,
difference
I like
between being
him.
a fan of an actor and necessarily being a fan of all the films that he's in, because
Right.
those are two different things. I'm very curious who does here, but yeah, this to me was just didn't clear anything up whatsoever. I don't feel like I know one more thing about Terminator Genisys right now than I did 5 minutes ago. About the rating, though, it's funny because I was watching the original Terminator and T2 a couple of weeks ago, and the person I was with said, take out some of the language. Today, these are PG-13 films. And they really are. I mean, the Terminator 2 is one of the great action films of all time.
Best
Yeah.
sequel ever.
Take out the language, it's a PG-13
I
movie.
saw them when I was young.
Yeah,
Well under 18.
No, so did I. No, yeah, I was.
So I'm
yeah,
not
probably
sure.
around
I'm not
12
so
or
sure the
13.
PG-R rating is really going to be an issue here. Anyway, you heard the comments he made. What do
Yeah.
you take out of all this?
I mean, again, I agree with both of you. Like, who knows what any of these comments mean? Obviously these guys are going to be very talking in puzzles and riddles, when they're asked about this until it comes out. I do think, from what I've heard, what I can kind of make sense out of what Jai was saying is that it's not a sequel, it's not a reboot. I think it's going to take place in the world of the universe of the films that we already know, and because there's so much time travel, From what I understand, there's going to be, so we're going to time travel.
So they're going to do a Star Trek. They're going to Star Trek.
Kind of.
Or
We're
a
time
Days of
traveling.
Future Past.
But we're time traveling back to the first Terminator.
Right.
And maybe something will change there. And then I think we're going to see a little bit of, T2. And I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of time travel in and out of these things with different characters changing things. So that's kind of exciting and kind of cool. I actually am one of the fans of Terminator Salvation. I really liked that movie. Much more.
PG.
Oh, so you're the guy.
I am that guy. Much more than Rise of the Machines, I thought was terrible.
Right.
So the fourth one more than the third one. But that one was completely just, no time travel at all, and we're just in the future story, which I thought was cool. So to kind of go back to what the first movie was and have this time traveling and go back to these different places that we're familiar from seeing 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool. As far as the rating, I also agree with you guys. Like PG-13 isn't what it was 20 years ago. I mean, PG-13 is basically what R was 20 years ago without, maybe a couple of F-bombs here and there.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. You almost have to do it for a movie of this size and to sell overseas, like you're talking about. So I don't really think PG-13 is going to hurt the film at all. Like, I don't think it's going to make a difference.
All right, folks, we reached that part of the show for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Sinead's got a few other items in World of Movie News. She's going to run them down. Then those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Sinead, what do we got?
It's just been announced that Breaking Bad star Bryan Cranston will star in the upcoming film The Infiltrator, based on the true story book of the same name. The story follows an undercover U.S. agent working inside the dirty banks laundering money for the world's most notorious drug cartels, including Pablo Escobar. Jamie, buy or sell the sounds of The Infiltrator with Cranston in the cast?
No, buy it, right? I mean, it's Bryan Cranston. It's a drug movie. Well, what more do you need? Like, that's what everyone wants. They want, just to see Breaking Bad, the film. And not, obviously, this isn't going to be that because it's the Pablo Escobar story. But, I think it sounds like a great premise. Like, I'm in. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm in for sure. By Bryan Cranston, not only one of the nicest guys in the world.
Isn't he the best?
Very
like,
nice.
seriously.
And he hasn't
Great
gotten
actor.
less nice the more famous he's gotten,
true.
which
Yeah.
often happens.
Yeah, so I love the sound of this idea. Your Breaking Bad fans will be happy that he's going sort of back into the drug criminal world, but he got this role through Brad Furman, who's going to be directing. They work together on The Lincoln Lawyer, which I actually really liked.
That is a good movie. I
Yeah.
saw it on TV recently. Lincoln Lawyer is a really
I
good
love
movie.
Lincoln Lawyer.
I
Yeah,
liked
it's
it,
great,
so
yeah.
I'm glad that Brad's directing this. And this story sounds fascinating. This guy spent 5 years undercover, slowly gathering evidence, and then led to the arrests of 40 high-profile criminals. It's perfect for a movie.
At a fake staged wedding.
Yeah.
I am
See it.
going to sell this.
Really?
Conditional on, and it's only because of the pessimist in me. Conditional on if it turns out that Bryan Cranston is actually the lead in this film.
I think he is.
And if he is, then that sell goes to a buy really quick. There's something about the story. I think I'm more interested in a story more directly about the pursuit of Pablo Escobar himself and stuff like that, as opposed to taking down all the bankers he was working with.
Yeah.
But if Cranston ends up being the lead in this, then that changes the dynamic for
You
me
mean like
personally
if
as a
the
fan.
focus is on his character?
Is on his character.
Well, I was
who he is.
assuming it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I-
he's playing the author, so hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. I haven't heard any confirmation about
Yeah,
what. I just
yeah,
heard
yeah.
he's joining. If he's the lead, because I've been waiting for a large, wide-release Hollywood film where Bryan Cranston's actually the lead. We have not seen it yet.
Yeah.
So if this is the one, then I'm going to be excited about it.
Yeah.
Love
All
it.
right, what's next?
Lionsgate has announced that Casey Affleck will lead the cast in their upcoming true story of the Boston Marathon tragedy titled Boston Strong. It's not clear who Affleck will be playing, but the film is inspired by the true story of Jeff Bauman, a survivor of the tragedy who, even after losing both his legs that day, assisted the manhunt that helped catch those responsible. John, buy or sell Casey Affleck leading Boston Strong?
I got to buy it as far as the casting goes. We all knew when they announced that they were going to do this movie that the last name of the person doing this film was either going to be Wahlberg or Affleck.
Affleck.
It was going to be one of those two.
Could have been a Damon. There could have been a Damon in there.
Actually, I didn't even think about that. I'm a big fan of Casey Affleck, who unfortunately probably for the rest of his career will be in his big brother's shadow.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, 20, 30 years from now,
great.
they will look at their careers and say they were both powerhouses. He's an incredible talent, especially when he's being directed by his brother, as a matter of fact. I'm a little on the fence about, I'm never the guy who says too soon. I'm never that guy. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about a Boston Strong movie now. Ask me again in a year when it actually comes out. Maybe by then I'm like, okay, yeah, cool, have it out now. Right now I still feel a little weird about it, but no judgments either way. I'm just saying I feel weird about it. Jimmy.
Let me speak to that comment because I am from Boston.
I
Born
didn't know
born
that.
and raised in
I
Boston,
did not know that.
Massachusetts. So let me just say about Affleck. Yeah, it had to be for a movie like this, it had to be a Wahlberg and Affleck or a Damon.
Yeah.
So great, and I agree. I think Casey's a very good actor, strong actor, and I think he'll get better as the years go on. So I think this would be great. But to the point of too soon, this is a very important story to the East Coast, to Boston, and I think a lot of healing comes out of seeing entertainment. I think there was a lot of healing from United 93. There's a lot of healing from these movies. And so this is our story. This is Boston's story. And to share it, I think it's important. I think a lot of healing is going to come from it. And, obviously it's got to be a good movie. And it's got to be done well and tastefully and respectfully. I'm going to assume that it is going to be all of those things. And if it is, then I don't think it's too soon at all.
All right, good points.
Yeah, I'm buying. I love Casey Affleck. I think he's such a great actor. Gone Baby Gone and Assassination of Jesse James and Out of the Furnace recently. He was fantastic.
Yeah, he was very good in Out of the Furnace.
Really, really good. And this is based on a book. And I like that two of the writers on The Fighter optioned the book. I think that's a perfect fit as well. And now Casey's coming on board as a producer. So now they can really pitch it to studios and financiers and really get it what it needs, because for a while there they were thinking about doing a TV series, but I'm glad that now they're going for a movie and he's perfect.
I always found it funny, the Out of the Furnace thing, because I always used to joke about it. It's like, okay, so let me get this straight. So we've got the we got the new Batman's brother playing the old Batman's brother in the same film.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But the thing about that is now you can do that with every movie. There was one movie I saw years ago and it was
Zodiac, and it was like, oh, the Hulk and Iron Man.
Right, and there was
together.
one movie I watched years ago, I can't remember the title, but it had Julia Roberts in it, and it was like, okay, well, we've got the Green Goblins in this movie, the Green Lantern, Mr. Fantastic, and now because I know we're getting off topic, but because every actor pretty much has played a comic book character at this point, you can do that with really any movie.
I love that.
All right, what's next?
One of the most mysterious films in development over the last year has been the Brad Bird-directed film Tomorrowland, which stars George Clooney and Britt Robertson. In a recent interview, writer Damon Lindelof described the project like this: "What Hogwarts is to magic, Tomorrowland is to science. They are both easy to find if you are a wizard, and very difficult to find if you're a muggle," Lindelof said of the film. Walt Disney is not a character in our movie, but he is referenced as having some involvement in this mysterious place called Tomorrowland. As a huge futurist and aficionado of space travel, rocketry, cities of the future, and space travel, Tomorrowland opens in AMC theaters everywhere on May 22nd, 2015. Alicia, buy or sell Lindelof's description of the film?
I buy it because I always appreciate a Harry Potter reference. It doesn't give away too much, but I like the sound of this. I love Brad Bird, and I'm looking forward to seeing what him and Damon are cooking up together with this sci-fi fantasy. From the premise, sounds really cool. I like that Damon also says that one of the major influences was Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which is my favorite sci-fi movie ever. And he said the reason why they were influenced by that film is because it has this great sense of wonder and discovery and no bad guys. I like that idea.
I'm going to sell. No, I'm going to sell because this reminds me a lot of Jai Courtney's things. I don't feel like I know anything more about the film than I did before, other than the fact that he threw in a clever Harry Potter reference. I'm dying for the film. I don't know why Brad Bird is taking so long in between films. I want to see him a little bit more prolific right now, but I love the cast of this. I like the general sound of it, having Brad Bird in there directing it. This all sounds great to me. I just wish he had given us something a little more tangible. Anyway, Jamie.
Yeah, I'll buy it. I like the comment as well, the Harry Potter thing, and that does illuminate a little bit for me. I kind of get a better idea of maybe where they're going with this. Brad Bird's what wins me over on this movie.
Yeah.
If they're going to make a Disney movie off of every ride at Disneyland, which it seems that they are, I appreciate the fact that at least they're saying, okay, well, here's the principal idea, and let's see what else flows from this, and try to build it bigger and kind of, and it's a good cast, and so I'm optimistic. We'll see.
All right, folks, well, listen, before we get to Mailbag, I want to let you know that one of the films opening in AMC theaters everywhere this week is a movie with a really stupid name, but that I enjoyed quite a bit. It's Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day.
And you had to read it.
And I had to turn to the poster and read it,
Can't
because it's
remember.
such a dumb title, but I saw it the other night, and I actually was grinning from ear to ear
It's
the whole
it's
film.
fun.
It was a fun,
I
cute
agree.
film. I really enjoyed it. Anyway, we recently sent our very own Alicia Malone down to talk to Steve Carell and my 10-year celebrity crush, Jennifer Garner, Affleck, watch your back, about their new film. So we want to share a little clip of that conversation with you right now. Check it out.
So because you two are among the nicest people I've ever interviewed, and you also make great parents on screen, can I pretend that you're my parents just for this interview?
Oh, sure.
Because I've got a couple of confessions.
Okay.
Feel like I can trust you. So the first one, not much of a confession, but I'm looking forward to Foxcatcher and Men, Women and Children. So I wanted to ask you, do you feel, #blessed, that you're able to mix these dramatic roles with fun ones like this?
I feel lucky to be working, frankly.
Me too.
I mean, just to be employed and be doing this for a living, and that sounds like a cliche, but I
That
know
is
we feel.
actually, I know we feel the same way about this.
Yeah.
That is actually the truth.
Yeah.
So that
It would
never
take a
goes
lot
away.
less than this
So
to make
I-
me feel lucky
Yeah.
or blessed or
It's-
whatever you want to
That's
call
really
it.
true.
Yeah.
And I mean, and to get to work with somebody like, I hate that I keep pointing at you with my thumb, but to get to work with someone like this or exactly this person is fantastic. That's
It's the
that
most
makes
fun
it-
ever.
yeah. No, I just feel to be able to do
Yeah.
something fun and silly that families are going to go enjoy, fantastic.
Alexander and the blah, 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 blah opens in AMC theaters everywhere this weekend. Head on over right now to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. Despite the fact that I don't like the title, I really do like the film.
I think blah,
you
blah,
will
blah,
too.
blah would have been a better title.
That might have
That
worked.
would have been a
more
really
memorable,
good
right?
title, yeah.
All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for Mailbag. If you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us 24/7 at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, we're going to try to save a couple minutes at the end of the show to take some of your live Twitter questions, so you can start tweeting in right now if you're watching us live to @AMC Movie News, and Sinead will pick out a couple at the end. But for now, let's get to the Mailbag. Sinead, what do we got?
Bill Garretts writes, "Hey guys, great show. I just bought the 25th anniversary Blu-ray edition of The Last Starfighter and loved it. It was the first movie to have all special effects done on a Cray supercomputer. My question is, do you think it will ever get a reboot? And wouldn't it be cool if the effects were done with today's technology?"
You know, I think we got a similar question to this about a year or two ago, like back in the early days of Movie Blog. And The Last Starfighter, for me, is one of those movies that when it's brought up, I start doing this.
Yeah.
I just get so happy. I just feel happy thinking about The Last Starfighter. The premise is incredible. I mean, and it's a premise that can work today. An alien race actually secretly planted a video game on Earth to see who's got the hand-eye coordination and instincts and skills to be a universal starfighter pilot. Awesome.
Yeah.
The characters were funny and enjoyable. And this is one of those films. I said on a show the other day, I've got 4 rules for doing a reboot. At least 20 years old, a film that the majority of the current film-going audience hasn't seen, can benefit from modern technology, and is a narrative and a story that can be translated well into a modern context. Check, 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 and check. I'd be all for a Last Starfighter. Anyway.
I actually just watched this for the first time.
Oh, really?
I
Yeah,
envy you.
yeah.
I envy you.
And I really liked it, even though, the special effects are very much of its time and
Sure.
the arcade game that seems quite retro now, but I really enjoyed it. I think it has a great story there. It's got a great bare bones, so it could be one that would benefit from a reboot. And you could see how you could do it. Or just take the general idea and then change it completely for today's age.
And how cheesy did the man in costume,
Yeah.
alien bounty hunters
yeah.
look? It was so great.
But
Yeah,
something
no,
nice
and I
about
love
it.
your criteria, and I agree with all that. I think that is the perfect criteria for a remake. The movie was not a box office hit when
No.
it came out. Correct me if I'm wrong, I remember it being more like a HBO hit. Like once it got on HBO and was played 20 times a day when, HBO was only in so many houses and stuff. That's how I grew up watching it. I think it's a great premise. I think it would be really cool to do it now. I think I've heard over the years talk about it. Like this isn't the first time I've heard it brought up.
I have heard whispers
There's
about it
been
from time to
whispers
time,
of
but
it.
never anything substantial.
Well, because I think it wasn't like a huge box office hit at the time, and it doesn't have a huge cult following either.
Yeah.
I mean, it does have a specific cult following. But I mean, listen, they're going in the well for anything that's got, a marquee name that's got something, that they can, and it certainly does.
And nostalgia aside, I really firmly believe this is a premise that would just work as a movie as if it was original.
Yeah, no, I
created
totally
today.
agree. I totally agree.
All right, what's next?
Patrick Nolan writes, "Your show fascinates me and I never miss an episode. Keep
Yay.
up the great work." My question may be difficult to answer, but how recognizable do you think the show is around Hollywood at this point? You've had the likes of Chris Pratt, James Gunn, Kevin Feige, and the Russo brothers on your set, and based on his Guardians interview, it sounds like Vin Diesel is certainly a fan. Is it weird for you to be gaining this level of you're going to help me, John.
Notoriety.
Notoriety. Hey, learned a new word. Do actors, directors, etc. ever contact you and request to make an appearance on the show? And is Vin Diesel the most high-profile fan that you know of at this point? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
Here's the funny thing about the show. Much like sometimes when we talk about some obscure cartoon superhero characters, and we'll say, okay, I understand you think this character is really big because you and your circle of friends like them, but really in the wider thing, it's really not that big. We're not that big. We're not that big. I think people overestimate how big our show is right now, and because I mean, don't get me wrong. Compared to some shows, we're really big, but we're not really. I mean, I hang out every once in a while with the Fine Brothers. I mean, they have like 25 million people watch their videos every single day. I mean, that's very different from our experience. But what is weird for me is walking around like Comic-Con. I still have never gotten used to this. Walking around Comic-Con, like me and Jeremy Johns were walking around together, and like having people, or we go down to the Burbank 16, like every time we go there, people will come up and say, watch AMC Movie Talk. Yay, and then usually they'll ask me about either Alicia or Schnepp. And they don't really want to talk to me. But so that is kind of weird, but how much influence do we have in Hollywood? I've done a scientific formula on this. I believe the number is 0%. We have absolutely no influence over anybody, anywhere, anytime. We're simply not.
Can I say something? Because I think you're being very modest. As someone who comes in, who's on the outside, I'm not a regular on the show. I'm a maybe regular contributor. There's a reason I like doing this show. It's a very good show. People are watching it. I got to tell you, every time I do this show, I see my spikes on my numbers on my site, I Am Rogue. I see your fans on my Twitter, your fans on my Facebook. And I'm very appreciative of it. There are fans that watch this show, and I think that industry is taking notice too. I mean, you get great guests on this show, and what always surprises me, I mean, I just assume no one's looking at I Am Rogue, and that I put something out there, no one's ever going to see it. And and you do this a lot too, Alicia. We interview these celebrities every day, and they start to know our faces. And actors, I'll let you all in a little secret, actors love to read about themselves.
What?
They do. Actors and directors love to watch their interviews. And I'm so shocked and surprised anytime I have someone say, oh yeah, I watch I Am Rogue, or I watch this, and I think the same thing happens here. Just a real quick story, I interviewed Mel Brooks recently when he got his hands in the Chinese.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so, I go up to Mel Brooks and I was going to do, a setup with the publicist, going to do a little interview, and he says, oh, what's this for? Who are you with? And I said, I Am Rogue. And he said, oh, Rogue, Rogue's really big in my house. I watch Rogue every day. I think he was totally lying, and he was trying to make me feel good. But the fact that I have on video Mel Brooks telling me that he watches my website every day is a huge thrill. And I think you guys have a much more legitimate celebrity fan base.
Definitely every time I go to a press junket and I say from AMC Theatres, people perk up, and I've had people say, oh, Movie Talk, I love the show. Yeah. So I think people do know about it. The best part for me is obviously the fans, the viewers.
Oh, they're awesome.
Who I just love talking with on all social media. And a great story was when I was in London for Edge of Tomorrow, and they made me do that scene where I was really
awesome.
Terrible at, because I can't act at all. But the extra I was working with said, oh, Alicia, Movie Talk, I love it. And I was like, wow, and he's this English actor, and he watches the show every single day. So it's you guys that make
this
this
show's
so
becoming
great.
big. You get a huge fan base, I think a celebrity fan base as well, and that's why I like doing the show. It's congratulations. You've done a good job, my friend.
Well, thank you. But my favorite story so far isn't even the Vin Diesel one, but the Vin Diesel thing was really
That was cool.
My favorite story, though, was Chris Pratt. Because Chris Pratt was here in studio one time, and he hung out with me, and my wife Ann was here, and a few of us. And talked about it. Anyway, fast forward a couple months later, I go to the junket to do the interviews with them, and I go and I sit down with Chris Pratt, and the guy always introduces you first as you're walking in. So John from AMC, and he says, oh, AMC, we came and did that thing at your studio. I'm like, yeah. He goes, and your wife was there, Ann. How's Ann doing, right? Okay, so
nice.
I tell Ann that Chris Pratt remembered who you were and asked how you were doing. For the entire rest of the day, it's like she was a deer caught in the headlights. Like you can just tell somewhere in the back of her mind she's thinking about how fast can I pack and move out of the house if Chris Pratt becomes available. Sort of thing.
That's awesome.
Anyway, all right, folks, we leave just a couple of minutes. We've got just a few minutes now for some live Twitter questions. So, Sinead, what are people asking over there?
At webhead_studios wants to know, what do you guys think about a Dumbledore prequel similar to The Hobbit? It would be about Dumbledore's quest for power.
Ooh.
My default position. I don't like prequels. Like if you go far enough back into the past, that's cool. Like if you're going to do Star Wars Old Republic, or even like if you want to do a Game of Thrones movie that's set 1,000 years before the events of Game of Thrones, I don't consider that prequel really. So sure, but I'm not a big fan of prequels. That doesn't mean it couldn't be great. There are exceptions. X-Men First Class, I think, is an exception.
Right.
There are exceptions to every rule, but I'm the wrong guy to ask that. What would you think? As a Potter fan.
Yeah.
Love Harry Potter if J.K. wrote the book.
That's exactly what I was
Right,
going to
right.
say.
If it's without J.K., then
Yeah.
I'm not interested. And at the moment, she's focusing on the Fantastic Beasts trilogy.
Yeah.
And she did that great anagram on Twitter the other day, which is saying that she's working on the second screenplay. So yeah, if she did it, then sure.
Yeah,
Any
I
other
totally
thoughts?
agree. If JK's involved, then I'm all for it. If she's not involved, if it's just, Warner Brothers saying, how can we milk this thing a little bit more, like they did with The Lord of the Rings, even though obviously
It was
based
based
on
on
a
a
book,
book, yeah.
based on a Hobbit, but making it into 3 movies, and that could have been 1 movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if it's just milking the cow, I'm not interested.
Quick question then for both of you guys who kind of said the same thing. If they hired a decent or reputable writer and said that J.K. was going to be supervising it, like overseeing it, kind of helping them out, does that become
Yeah,
more
if she gives
possible
her
for you guys?
blessing, she has to give her blessing and be somehow involved in creating
Yeah.
the story.
Has to be from her.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
At PEDUES asks, what's the most terrified movie moment you have ever experienced?
Oh wow!
Oh, wow.
Most single moment. See, I always say my 2 favorite horror films: American Werewolf in London and The Descent. But single terrifying moment. I don't know, man. That's one I'd have to sit down and think about for an hour.
Well, I'm a giant wuss. So
I know. Okay, look, I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna publicly.
That's Manny.
I'm gonna publicly call you out. All right. So her and a frequent guest on our show, Maud Garrett, they're roommates.
Yeah.
Both terrified of horror films. Freak out even watching a trailer. So I put up this challenge. Say, I want you and Maud at our place, and I want you guys to sit down and watch this set. And I said, I will write a check for $100 to whatever
scared.
charity of your choice to do it. And I've received no reply.
I replied and I said,
Oh, you did reply,
I just
that's
wrote
right.
like blah, 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 because that was all my reply because I was scared. But I said, if it's for charity, I'm in. Maud replied and she said she would pay you more not to watch it. But I'm scared in a lot of horror movies. Paranormal Activity. I know now it's got a bad reputation, but that first one where she got off the bed,
Yeah.
I can't even think of it. I was so scared.
You look like
in
you're
the
getting
theater.
visually stressed out right now.
And then I couldn't sleep that night, and I'm almost.
But I can't think of a single moment.
I had
to
2
me.
moments recently, not necessarily in horror films, but that I had a visceral reaction to. One is in Snowpiercer. So if you know the movie, there's a part where, I won't give anything away, but Chris Evans and Jamie Bell find out what's in the energy bars they've been
Yes.
eating.
Oh, yeah.
I literally could not hold down food for
That's
almost a week.
horrific.
If I think about that image, I begin to vomit.
Right.
So, and then the other one and I actually told director Kevin Smith this when I
Tusk?
interviewed him in Tusk, when
Yes.
Justin Long becomes the walrus.
You can't unsee that.
You can't unsee it. It's disgusting, and it actually made me throw up after this.
And
the
Blair
screening.
Witch Project, I threw up after that because I was so scared.
All right, folks, listen, that'll do it for us for this installment of AMC
We're gonna end
Movie
on
Talk.
throwing up? That's
We're
how
going to
we're
end on
gonna
throwing
end?
up. That's
Okay.
all we got. We're out of time. Thanks so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films playing at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater showtime and, of course, your movie ticket information. If you'd like an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video and you'll find a link to our podcast feed. And don't forget to click the thumbs up button. It's a good way to help us out. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and get everybody you know to as well, or tell them they're stupid. I want to thank, first of all, the people sitting at the table with me, sitting to my immediate right, of course, Miss Alicia Malone. Alicia, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Alicia Malone.
Of course, our special guest returning once again, Mr. Jamie Philbrick. Jamie, where can people find you?
Check out my website, iamrogue.com, and our Twitter at iamrogue, and you can also follow me on Facebook.
And of course, our lovely host today, Miss Sinead DeFries. Sinead, where can people find you online?
I am on Twitter and Instagram at Sinead DeFries and at thatsosinead.com.
And you can find me on all the various social media networks, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, at John Campia. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. My name's John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until next time, Bye-bye.
Hey everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.